Well, still with the SACP Congress, the first Deputy General Secretary, Solly Mapaila, is likely to emerge as its new leader at the end of this weekend. Dr Blade Nzimande, who's been General Secretary for 24 years, will not be contesting. For analysis on what's been happening in Boksburg, let's speak to political analyst Ntsikelelo Breakfast. Mr. Breakfast, welcome to Daytime Update. We'll talk about the future of the SACP with a new leadership, or perhaps just a realigned leadership in a moment. But I want to pick up on the comments made by the ANC President, Cyril Ramaphosa, who spoke there this morning. And one of the things he said, and we're playing this for our viewers earlier, was that he will not be bullied or intimidated by people who are using the questions around his involvement or knowledge of what happened during the Phala farm robbery, which he owns, the farm, or in order to prevent him from doing his work. Is he being fairly questioned or indeed being bullied?
Temekile, I've got mixed feelings about the issue in question. I'll tell you why. Because on the one hand, I think there is a case to answer, because there are gaps in the argument that has been put forward by the president, because he does acknowledge what had happened on his farm, that money was stolen, blah, blah, blah. So he needs to answer some questions in that regard. On the other hand, I think I agree with the characterization of the Communist Party that the complaint that has been laid by Arthur Fraser to the public protector, and also wherever he laid the complaint, I think with SAPS, that is not meant to wage a war on corruption, but that is meant in the main to dislodge the president from the helm of power. So that is part of the factional battle that is taking place within the ANC. That's why even myself, the way I respond to questions on this matter, I normally avoid running a risk of falling in a political trap, because there are a lot of factors at play in this regard. I
mean, we're watching one of the other factors unfold now. In fact, we can bring a picture of, I think it's Mahumapelo, I was just looking at him now, on a feed that we're running, part of a march to the ANC headquarters, Luthuli House. Among the demands that are being made by this group of ANC members is for the suspension of President Ramaphosa. So as you say, how much momentum then is the internal push for him to either be suspended or to go now? How strong is it?
Yeah, they're trying to intensify their efforts of putting pressure on him to step. Look, in the bigger scheme of things, let's face it, is the upcoming conference of the ANC that will be held in December. Now, my view is that the forces of RAT are well aware that I think the president has won a lot of strategic conferences that have been held, and I don't think that the forces of RAT can stand toe-to-toe against him or against his faction. So if they do succeed in terms of making him to step aside, that will make room for them to maneuver in order to outmaneuver his faction. So this is a very important move for them, and that's why they are employing all these tactics and strategies to make sure that they achieve their intended objective of dislodging him from the helm.
But he appears, doesn't he, to still be fairly well supported among some of the membership of the National Executive Committee, and as you say, his allies have been winning some of the provincial conferences, and among COSATU leadership and SACP leadership, he still enjoys a fair deal of confidence. How much does that shore him up at this time when there is this push internally in the ANC and among the opposition parties? I mean, the EFF, this time yesterday, was saying it in fact is going to work towards his impeachment.
Yes, Temegile, he does enjoy, support within the ANC, but we've heard Ndatem Simang breaking ranks, saying that maybe he needs to step aside. The strategy of the EFF, I heard them, I think, yesterday. Now, I think they want to join forces with other civic organizations, and also other political parties, and make sure that they mount the pressure on him to step down. So I think we are going to see a lot of protests. Also, they are going to take advantage, Thembekile, of the plight of the poorest of the poor due to the increase of petrol, inflation, and so on, because also there is that, I would say, ideological void in society. A lot of poor people are feeling the pinch, so they are going to take advantage of all those factors and say that Ramaphosa is the cause of that.
So the SACP then, a crucial part of the tripartite alliance, electing new leadership. Blade Nzimande will not be returning, at least not as General Secretary. Solly Mapaila, the second deputy, being touted as a possible future General Secretary. Is Mapaila the right man to lead the SACP into its next phase, especially when it's been criticized for not finding its place in democratic South Africa and its position as a political alternative to some extent?
Yeah, first of all, Thembekile, the leadership of Blade Nzimande has been that of a mixed bag, in the sense that on the one hand, I must applaud him for a good job well done in terms of increasing the number of people who have joined the Communist Party. Also, he was vehemently opposed to GIE, which was, I would say, an indication of market fundamentalism. Also, he differed with former President Beki on his policy on HIV and also quiet diplomacy. On the other hand, his leadership style has been that of what I call Stalinism, whereby decisions are made on top and brought down to the bottom. And that's why some people who disagreed with him were suspended. No wonder maybe the fellow that will be taking over from him did not want to wrap him in a wrong way. Otherwise, also maybe he would have been purged.
There's also something else that President Cyril Ramaphosa said today, moving away from internal ANC dynamics, and he suggested, in fact said there's a possibility being explored of the creation of a second state-owned power utility, and basically a state-owned entity that would compete in the same space as Eskom. Does that to you suggest that what we're seeing now is the slow process towards the privatization of Eskom, or is this a step in the right direction when you consider its current problems with load shedding and the rest of it?
Yeah, I think government has tried its level best to sugarcoat this thing of a privatization. Remember in the beginning, they used this term of trying to restructure Eskom. They don't want to use the concept of privatization because they know that there might be a backlash. That's why some people say that the way things are is not the way things should be, but at the same time that is done on purpose in order to make people be in favor of a privatization. But Kosato and the SACP, they've been very soft on Ramaphosa because he has fallen short on a number of things. The economy has not been growing the way it should have. Unemployment is very high, inequality, blah, 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 and also this.
What should the Communist Party then be doing about all of those issues?
Well, the Communist Party, it's constituency. The constituency to which it pitches its message to is the working class, and that is the class that is affected. So it needs to agitate the working class to take a stand against the failures of government. But the Communist Party cannot do that. Why? Because also it is part of that government. So the Communist Party also benefits out of this, I would say, government. No wonder they are very soft on the president. You don't see them, Thembekile. You don't see them in townships. Their footprint is limited in the struggles of ordinary people in townships. The only people you see, it's Dudula and other organizations. That's where they're supposed to be found, leading those struggles, mobilizing people on the ground.
Ntsikelelo Breakfast, always good to have your time, so thank you very much for being on Daytime Update. I want to